Do you want to learn Svelte.js but don't know how to? This project we are creating in this course, which is having this welcome page, which is having this animation for the users page, so we can switch between the pages. Very nice routing, and you can see this is also changing like this. Okay, then what we have here, we have very nice little bar which will tell you how many users you have. You can filter out the users, so you can see we have one active user and then we have two inactive users. We can get back all the users we have. That's really great. We can remove the user from here with the animation. You can see everywhere we have an animation, transition, tween, everything is there. You can also add new users, so you can just say Sarthak and then provide the email, and you can see we are having a very nice form handling thing with the store, with the variables updating on the demand, and then having the binding of each and every values, and everything is here inside this Svelte amazing course. With this animation we have added a new user at the top. We can remove that user once again, and everything is so smooth working that I really love Svelte.js. If you really want to learn about the Svelte.js course, this is really for you. So this course is designed from beginning, that means very starting what is Svelte.js, then moving slowly to the advanced topic, and finally creating this little nice and animation driven application. And if you want to see all the source code, this is available here on this Bitfumes Svelte full course 2022, and here we have all the course, and all the commit is related to and given with the proper course you can say chapter number or the video number we have. So everything is there, you can get back. And if you are interested in a single video, then go to the bitfumes.com, and then you can see all the like categories are here. So this will land into the JavaScript, and if you go inside JavaScript, you will find all the videos I have created. And just like this Angular video, which is the previous release, which is including 31 video, and all the individual videos are here. You can watch them and check your progress. Everything is inside this Bitfumes website. Okay, so let's start this course. Svelte.js, cybernetically enhanced web apps. What's that? So let's first understand what is Svelte.js. So this Svelte.js is a radically new approach to build a user interface. Basically, it's not that new, but it's a fresh JavaScript framework, where the traditional frameworks like React or Vue do the bulk of the work on the browser. Svelte shift that works into the compile step that happen when you build your application. So that's the way it's actually going to remove the virtual DOM. So instead of using the techniques like virtual DOM differencing or diffing, Svelte write code that surgically update. That means directly go and update the DOM when the state of your application changes. And that's really a real thing, why you need a virtual DOM. So let's talk about the features of Svelte.js. Now, Svelte is very nice because you always have less code compared to other frameworks. It doesn't have the virtual DOM, which is making it really faster compared to the DOM level frameworks or library. It's truly reactive. That means state management is built in. No need to use any hook, no need to use any state management thing. Everything is just the native JavaScript. And that's the real power of Svelte.js. It has a great ecosystem. That means a Svelte kit, which is just like a Next.js for React. Here we have a Svelte.js, Svelte kit for Svelte.js. Then we have a Svelte native to create native mobile applications, and the animation and transitions comes out of the box from the Svelte. So you don't have to add any library. Everything is done with the Svelte library. It's very easy to learn and use. Now it's time to really get hands your dirty for the Svelte.js. Let's now install Svelte.js and create the fresh application. To get started with Svelte.js, first you need to visit svelte.dev, and yes, svelte.dev is the website for Svelte, and here we are. And you need to just scroll down and you will find the create new white app. We are learning Svelte. Why white? So white or wheat, or I call it white. So white is going to be useful to create a Svelte application, and this is the new thing in Svelte. Or you can use the Svelte kit, which we will talk about later, but right now let's use this command to create new Svelte application. So I'm going to say my Svelte like this, and this will going to first say, yeah, I have created this project, you need to go inside it and do the installation. So let's go to the my Svelte and say npm install, and let me zoom this for you and hit enter. Now it's installing some of the things. First time you will run this, you may get some questions, and you don't have to worry about that. So when this is done, what you need to do, you need to just open this with your favorite code editor, and I know it's VS Code for you and me both. And here we are with this amazing Svelte project, the fresh Svelte project. Now we will talk about each and every file, but let's see how we can start our server. So go to the package.json, and here we have dev, that means npm run dev, which is once again using the white. So white is there, and which is very famous nowadays. Okay, so with this I will just say npm run dev and hit enter, and you can see so fast it is. And let's go to the localhost 3000, and boom, we have the fresh Svelte application. And when we click here, you can see it is having a little demo app, which is just how many times you have clicked. That's really great, and this is how we get started with Svelte.js. But the question comes, where all these coming, these logo, this text, and how this functionality is working? So let's see that now. So how this is coming? Let's go to this project, and first let's understand the file structure, and then we will see how this is working. Okay, so let's start with this white.config.js. Now white is a tool which is created by Ivan Yu, the person who has created the Vue.js. But let's go to the white.js.dev. It says next generation front end tooling. Now this is a fresh, which is absolutely amazing, lightning fast, which is for compiling all the assets you have, all the files you have. So this is why Svelte is also using it. Now if I go to the package.json, I can see only dependency is a dev dependency. Why? Because Svelte.js compile everything to native JavaScript, just like normal JavaScript. So you ship a normal JavaScript, so that's why everything you do on the development part, and when you build your application, everything become normal JavaScript. After that we can see JavaScript config.json. We are not using TypeScript here, but it's okay, no issue. But here we have index.html. This seems interesting, because we know that every normal web app start with index.html, and here it says Svelte plus white app. If I go here, you can see at the top on the title we have a Svelte plus white app. This means if I update it like Svelte course plus white app, and you can see it's super fast. That means I can show you by combining these two things like here, and I can then do something like this, and yeah, you can see if I remove this course, save, and that's so fast. It is So let's remove this white and you can now see. Save and boom. See, that's fast. Okay, so this is how this title is coming. Let's move forward. Then we have a git ignore. We don't worry about that. But next is this source directory. But we missed something in the index.html. You can see we have a script tag which is loading a main.js, which is a very normal thing. So if I open the view page source, you can see we have this main.js file, which is just having only one thing, which is get element by ID of app. And then on this app, we are doing this Svelte component. Seems like an interesting thing. Let's see where this is. So main.js is inside the source. So let's go inside the source. And we can see we have this main.js. Now main.js, as we have already seen on the browser, it just have imported this app, which is app.svelte. Any svelte component is suffixed with this svelte extension, which makes it as a svelte component. Next, you can see that we are new up this class or file or function, whatever it is. It's just a component, and then we are passing the target as this, and then finally we export it. Cool. So this means we need to now next look about the app.svelte file. Let's see this app.svelte, which is here. That's cool. Now app.svelte is having three important things. One is the script, second is this styling, and third is whatever is your HTML code. Cool. So you have seen one more thing on the index.html, that we have a div with the ID of app. Now we are mounting all the application on this div. Okay, and we can see from this main.js. On the main.js, first we are getting the div from the ID of app, and then we are mounting this application there. That's why if you inspect this on the element section, you will find the very first thing we have after the body is the div with the ID, and then we have this main, and this main is coming from Svelte. You can see we have this main, and that's the thing. So it's so easy to understand whatever happening here. Next, let's explore this one. This is actually importing two things. One is logo, which is this Svelte logo. So logo is coming from the asset. So we have an asset directory where we host all our assets, like image file, text file, any PDF, or anything which is static files. After that, we can see we have a counter. Counter seems like a new component, Svelte component. Why? Because I can see there is a dot svelte at the last of this counter, but all the component we store or we put inside the lib directory or library directory. So lib directory contains this counter.svelte. We will look at this counter, but next we have a main where we have this image, and then we are using this strange thing, which is like source is not actually the thing. We are just importing the logo, and we are calling this logo here on the source part of this image, and this is really cool. We will talk about this later, but then we can see we have this hello world. Then we are using this counter component. Okay, that's good. If I comment this and save, you can see that's gone from here, and if I undo it, save it, yeah, we are back with this counter. Next, we have this p tags, and finally some styling. Great. Now it's time for counter, because we are having a lot of things working here, but seems like nothing is here. What's the cool thing? You can see we just have defined a simple normal JavaScript variable let, using the let, which is a JavaScript thing. Count is equal to 0. Seems like a normal thing. It's normal JavaScript. Then we are creating a function. It's an arrow function. Inside the arrow function, we are saying counter plus equal to 1. This also seems like a normal JavaScript thing. Then we have a button and we have the click event. Now, in a normal JavaScript, we do on click something like this. But since we are on Svelte and Svelte says, hey, whenever you do the binding, you need to say on, then colon, and then the event. So we are talking about the click event. What's going to happen when we click? It's going to call this increment function, which will increment the count. And then we are showing this count. So if I say count plus 5, so it's just always going to plus it 5. So initially it's 0, then that's why it's 5. Then clicking will become 6, 7, 8, because every time we are just incrementing count by 1. So when we click once, it becomes 6. So because 5 plus 1 will become 6, then again we'll increment the thing, and you got the point. So this is how this reactive thing is working, and everything is reflected on the Svelte. So amazing to see that it doesn't have a lot of complexity. As I told you, Svelte is easy to use, easy to learn, and we are going to create something good with that. Let's explore more feature of Svelte.js. Now the very first thing I want to do here is, you can see on the main.js we are importing the app.svelte, which is necessary. But if I go on the app.svelte, a lot of thing is happening. So I just want to do one thing, which is very important. Control A and delete. Boom. Everything is cleaned. Now you can see nothing is there. Since nothing is there, then I need to remove this counter application or component, and I don't need this Svelte logo. Okay. So what next I want to create? I just want to have a div. Inside that I want to say list of users, and make it inside a h1 tag, and you can see it's reflected right here right now. Then I want to have a div. Inside that I want to get an image, and then inside the image I want to have a source which is going to show the user icon, and then I should have a p tag which says the username. So instead of my name I just say John. Okay, and that's the first name, and that's I think done. Okay, so since we are done with this, maybe I can have a username. So john@vidfilms.com. Cool. Now we have three things: the image, the name, and the email ID. Okay, so how can I get the image? So let's go on here. So I can search for users, user avatars, and I can get the flat icon. On the flat icon I can get a lot of icons, so I can open this and copy this URL and paste it here, and as soon as I save it, you will see it's reflected here. That's cool. But let's have all these things coming not from directly but from some variable. So I need to create a script tag. So I can have a script tag. You can create it here or at the top. If you have installed Svelte extension in your VS Code, which is given by Svelte itself, you just need to install it, make sure it is from the Svelte, then you will get this kind of formatting. Which what is the formatting? So I have created this here, but as soon as I saved it, you can see it's moved to the top, which is the recommended way of writing Svelte component. So we are doing these things here on the app.svelte. So let's first say let user image is equal to this thing. And how do I bind this? Like, how do I connect the variable with the source? We have already seen. We just need to say these curly braces and then the name of the variable. So user image. Okay, as soon as I save it, you can see it's working absolutely fine. So similar to that, I say let user name is equal to John, and user email is equal to john@vidfilms.com. Where is the B? It's here. Okay, so let's use, it's not just for binding, it's for um, showing any variable value like this, and then user email, boom. So yeah, you can see everything is there. Now it says, hey, you need to provide the alt tag. So let's say the alt tag which include the user name in my case. Okay, this is done. But next thing I told you, we don't want to do all the things in our app.svelte. So we need to create our let's just remove this. We need to create our own component. Let's do that in the lib library. So I will call it users.svelte. Make sure you provide the svelte extension which is telling to the application that, hey, this is a svelte component. Do that, and then we can move this script tag from there to here, and also copy all these things from here to there. Now what happened here, why we are not able to see the things or see the content? Because on our app.svelte, which is the starting point for our application, we have to import the component, or we have to use the component. How we use the component, we just need to say normal, use just like a normal HTML but with a proper name. So what name we have given? We have given users with a capital U. So users, and then save it. But you can see, because I have installed the svelte svelte extension, now whenever I say users, you can see it's doing the auto import. So if I click here, and you can see it's already imported inside the script tag, and boom, all these users are here. Next, if I go on the users, you can see the user is having a individual, you can say, variable. So I'm going to create a users, or I just say user, and this is going to be an object which is going to hold the image, and image will be like this. So like here, then comes the name is John, and then comes the email, which is john@bitfilms.com. So I'm going to remove all these things, and if I save it, nothing is happening because all these variables are not available, but it's available inside an object. So I can say user and then dot, and you can see we are getting the recommendation because of the svelte extension and VS Code combination. So it's image, then comes user.name, and comes user.email. So save it, back with the thing. Wow, that's so great. Okay, so I told you this is really amazing thing, but let's now add more user. And how do we do that? Now let's add more user to this list. Now how we can do that? Because we have this one object, so we need to make sure instead of object we have an array of object. So now you can see we have this user, but that's going to fail our system. Why? Because now we don't have the image or name or email directly into the user's object, because user, it is not an object, it's become a users list. So here I need to say it's a users, something like users and users, but since it's an array, so I need to get the first one always. So I can do something like this, and I can say, hey, give me the first one, first element, and then give me the name, email, and image. Just like this, I want to add another user, and I want to get the email, the image from here. Copy that, paste it here, and this is Jenny. So I say Jenny@bitfilms.com, and let's add one more user. So this will be like this hacker kind of user. So it's like the image is this one, and the name is hacker. So not cracker, it's hacker, and then I say hacker Once again, cracker. What is cracker? So hacker, something like this. Okay, so we need to use these two users also. So how we can do that? So first we need to copy this div from here, and then we say, hey, everywhere whenever you are using the first element, use the second element with the index of first. So now you can see, okay, so we have some issue with the image. So maybe is it because of that? Hey, we have some issue. So let's see, this is not working. And how about this? Oh, this is working, but seems like something is wrong on this end. So let's try the third one and see if we have the same issue on that. It's not about this Svelte, it's all about this image, which is, see, this is working, but we have some issue on this end. So maybe that image is a private image. So I can try some other image with a flat icon. That means you can see this hash is there, which means that these images are only be used on our from this website. So we have these issues. Now I don't want to miss these images. I really like these images. So what next I have to do? I have to actually use and download these image and then use it on my local. I will do that, but you can see I have these users, which is looking very nice. So let's just go and open this image in a new tab and save it. So I just want to save this where I have the project. So go here on the Svelte.js, on the my Svelte project, on source, then we have asset, and then I'm going to create a new folder, and the folder name is images. Inside that I'm going to say user1 and save it. So if I go inside this asset, user1 is there inside the images directory. So instead of this, I need to say /assets/user1.png. Is this going to work? Let's close this. It's not working. So maybe I forgot how to use it, but I think I have not forgot. Remember, it has to import user1 from the asset thing. So I go to the assets, then I say images. So then I say user1.png. This is the thing. So first I forgot to use this, something like that. Okay, so it's not working, which is the way we need to use this. So user1 is there. You can see it's working. Wow, this is coming directly from the Svelte local. Let's do the same for our other images. So copy that, open it, and save to user2 on the same directory. Okay, and for the third user also, let's do the same. And I really like this hacker one, user3. Okay, so we have saved. So now let's have it, and then we have all these three users here. So I just need to import all of the user. So I can say, hey, user2, user3, and then this become user2 like this, and user3 like this. Okay, so user3 is not there. Oh, you can see Svelte, the extension is so good at it that it has detected that, hey, you are doing something which can be improved. So as soon as I save it, it has combined all of these imports into something like that. So default user1, default user2, and we need the user3 also. So user3, save it. It's not available because we have to import it. So user3, cool, but it is it is importing all the users as a same. So can we do something like that? Okay, so instead of as a default, I can do something like this. We cannot do that, so we need to do it separately. So let's do the copy and pasting thing. So it's user 2, user 3. So once again, so we need to explore sometime, and we made mistakes, we learn from them, and we move forward. So you can see we have now the assets in our assets directory, and we are loading these images directly from the Svelte application, and that's so cool. But I don't like this code. Why? Because this code is a repetitive task. This is just having 3 users. Suppose we have a 1000 user. Are you going to do something like that 999? Obviously not. So you need to use the looping system, iterations in Svelte.js. How do we do that? Plus, I don't like this kind of design. I want to use something like a table thing. So let's have a design library in our Svelte application. Sounds interesting. The very first thing I want to do is using the loop. How do we do that? Let's go to the Svelte documentation. So I can go to the docs and search for loop. So now here we are, and but this is not the thing I'm looking for. So it's not there. So maybe I can search for loop, and there is a way to do that. So I can just explore not this one, I can explore other. Yeah, so we have this one, and if I go, you can see we have each. So this each is doing the iteration thing. How do we do that? So here, whenever you need to do the iteration, let me zoom it for you. You just say each of expression as something. You can do index, you can call the key, something like that. And how it's working? So items as item. So you do items as item. That means you have an array, and this is the iterated value or the element of that array. So let's use this kind of structure, and it start with a hash and end with a forward slash. So let's do this. Here we are having this block which is repeating. So I can just say, hey, first I need to use the curly braces, then hash each users as user, and then we say, hey, end this each. And if I save it, you can see 1, 2, and 3, and then these 2. So I think we don't need these 2, so I can remove it. But still we are having the first user only, which is because we are still using the users and the first element, although we are looping through 3 times, but we are not using this user object we are getting. So instead of this users first, I can just say, hey, give me the user and the user details. So, and just by doing this, we are getting something like this. Okay, so but we have seen on our Svelte documentation that, hey, if you are using this each, you can also use the index, and you can also use name key. What is that? So you can use I, which is like a index, and you can say item.id as the key. But why we need the key thing? So key is just for telling to our Svelte that, hey, each of the iterated component or iterated div, you can see, is a unique one. Now what else we can do? See, we are using user.image, user.name, and we are doing this user.name 2 times here and here. So we can improve this. How? We can directly destructure the content of this user from our user object by using something like this. I say image, then I say name, and then I say email, and now I don't have to use something like this. It's all there. Wow. So you can see everything is working absolutely fine. Next, you can see I can have the index, or I can call it I. So is it the same structure? I think, yeah. So we need to use a comma here. So I can say hey comma and the I stands for index, and then I just need to say p tag, and I am going to give I plus 1. Why I plus 1? Because index start with 0 always, and that's why I am doing I plus 1. Now I want to do one more thing. Let's have the ID here. So ID is 1 for the user. So 1, 2, it's user 2, and user 3 ID. Okay, so like this. Okay, now I'm going to say hey, this is going to be the user, or I can actually import the ID directly because we don't have the user object. So I can say ID. Now you can see we are having this, and it start with 0 and we are adding 1. But what this is doing, this is defining the key for our Svelte.js, and we are defining that each div is having a unique key. You know, we are doing a lot of amazing thing here, but Svelte provide really great things. So see, this users list or user array is a normal array, then we are using it. But suppose I'm having a function, so const get users, this is going to return me the users. So I say return users, and can I use this function directly inside this each? And obviously yes, I can use that. I need to call that function here, and you can see I saved this file and nothing is broken. But suppose instead of giving all the users, I'm returning just an empty array, then you can see nothing is there. There is no information that there is a list or not. So with the each, there is one more thing called else. What is the else? Provide else with a colon sign, and we provide else, and then we just say no user found. That's it. So if you don't have any user from here in this get user function, or it's not returning any user, then we are just showing this function. That's so great. So now let's return the users. Cool. Now let's have some styling by using the tailwindcss, and to have things very quickly, I'm just going to use the CDN. So just need to copy this script tag from here and then go to our where we need to go. Yes, on the index.html, and here we can we can add this line. Just by adding this, we are able to use the tailwindcss, and now you can see all the styling is already changed. How we can add the styling? So first I need to give this h1 tag a class, and I say hey, I need a text of 2XL. Now it's become bigger. Then I also say hey, this is text going to be the center, which is at the center, and margin top is 10. Like good. Then I need to say hey, this div is going to have a class of flex, so everything will be a inside in a line. Okay, now it's all become a line. Then image, yeah, this image should be rounded full, but having a width of, let's say 20 and height of 20. Okay, 20 I think is more, so maybe I can give only 16. It's also good, but 14, yeah, 14 is looking good. But you can see all these users are very close, so I can give each div which is holding all the user information with a margin of, let's say 5. Yeah, so everywhere we have a margin of 5. Next, this image also should have margin of x, a margin of right and margin of left. So if we give both, then we use margin of x as 4 like this, and same on the p tag, margin x 4, and on these two also class of margin x 4. Looks good, but I think we need to provide a width. So instead of giving this as margin x of 4, I can provide that width is going to be only, let's say 10. Yeah, then this only has 14, so I just don't have to use margin X. And then these two things should have let's say width of let's say 10. How about that? Maybe I can give 20 if someone has a bigger name. So width of 20 once again. Cool. So you can see everything is aligned, but these should be aligned at the center. So how we can do that thing? But before that, I just want to make a card level thing. So I just want to give background of white, and then I will give the border. So yeah, we have the border, and then padding of 2. So you can see we have the padding, but I should make it rounded large. And then very important thing is shadow of medium. See, like this. Now at the last, if I say hover over it, then I say shadow will become large. So if I hover, so yeah, you can see shadow is becoming large. Also I want to say cursor is pointer. So just like this, you can see it's very nice. Okay, and finally the very important thing is items center. Oh, how can I write center? So now everything is at the center, vertically center. It's looking very nice. And what we need next, we need to separate, create a new component which is holding the information of single user only. How we can do that? So what is the problem? The problem, it's not actually a problem, but we can improve things. So what is happening here? This is the users component which is holding all the user information, like all the user details, the object, and we are having all the looping system there. But you know, to show a single user, we have this div which is having all the information about the single user. This component is having all the information about all the user. So see, every component should have only one responsibility. So this component, which is a users component, having two responsibility. One is holding information about all the user plus showing a single user. So how to show a single user, which is also there. So we can improve this by creating a single component which is called user component, not users. So go into the library, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new folder called let's just create a user component, then we will see how we can structure it. So user.svelte is very important to create the component. Do that, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut all these things from here. I just cut it, so I have everything in my clipboard. But after that, what a bang. After that, I'm going to use or import this user component. Now see, user component is imported from here. So if I say I am user component, you can see this is 3 times loaded. I am user component, I am user component, I am user component, because every time we are looping through all these things. Cool. What next? See, instead of this, I have to use all these things. But when I want to use all these things, this required the name, image, and the email thing. Now come to the real thing. We all need the information about the user. This user component should only know about a single user. So I should create a script tag. Inside that, I should create a variable of user, not user, single user, which should be empty. But we need to fill this user information from the original component, which is users component. We need to pass the data from here to this component. How we can do that? Let's go to the documentation and go at the bottom. So I think, yeah, like this. And here we need to see how we can pass the component details. So where is that? Okay, so here we are component directives. So we can pass the component data like this. So just like we pass anything, we need to say value. We need to give the name and the value. Okay, so here we can pass image as image, then name as name, then email as email, and finally the id as id. So we are passing all these things, but when I save this, you can see what happened. It just formatted. And Svelte says that if you have the key and the value as the same, then why not do something like this, which is a normal JavaScript way. So we are doing this, but still we are getting error. What's the error? It says, hey, this component doesn't require any prop thing or any data. How I can tell this component that, hey component, we are we require these details. So for that we need to once again go on here should be, yep. So create a reactive component, a module style. Here we are. So what we have to do whenever we need to pass the data and we need to tell any component that you need the data from the parent component, we need to just add one thing which is called export. Okay, so instead of just like this, I just say export let user, and we don't have to define the initial value. Why? Because the value for this user is coming from the parent component, but we need these details, not the user. So I just need to say image, cool, then name, cool, then email, and finally the id. Everything is there, and component has unused, so we are not using id. Oh, we are using the index. So instead of id, I just pass the index as I. Cool. So you can see everything is good and working. And now let's go to the application. Boom, these details is coming directly from individual component. But once again, I'm not happy because I'm passing each and everything one by one. So what I can do, instead of passing all these things as different things like image name, I just want to say, hey, this is user. Then to have the key, I say user.id. And now instead of all these things, I just say pass the user. And if I do that, components say, hey, you don't require any user prop. What you're doing? So I just say, hey, it's become the user. Now everywhere I need to have user dot name, email, and other thing. It says, hey, you also need the index. So I just say, hey, yes, pass the id also, pass the index also. Okay, so everything is good. That's really nice. So we have created this component which is using the user detail and the index, and all the details are here by having this export, which is telling to the component that this value for this variable will come from the upper component or the parent component. So this is the way we create the component and we use inside other component, which is the nested component thing, and also passing the details of the user into the child component. But let's do some other thing. I want to add some information about the user, like if user is active or not. Then I have a filter which is saying filter by active user or inactive user or all the users. So for that, I need to add the information about user. So active is false. The spelling should be correct, false. But then I say true. And obviously I don't want hacker to be active. Okay, this is good, but how do we do other things? Let's see. So here I am on the users component, which is having all the information about all the users. Now I need to create some radio button at the top, which, or maybe a list or select thing. So I can say select, and this is like a filter. I can say user filter, and no need for any ID. But here in the options part, I say value is all, and I say all. Then active, value is active, and inactive, so inactive. Okay, so this is having something like that. Yeah, it's like this, but you can see we are not having the default value, so we need to say that, hey, this is the default one. Is it going to work? Oh, actually we have. So yeah, so now we have the all, which is like this, and I can give some styling here. So I just going to pause this bit because I don't want to waste your time on the styling thing. So let me just pause it. Hello. So I'm back with this thing, and you can see I have added some border, rounded, and some padding on X and Y, and margin on left for this select box. I have added this label, so I need to actually use this as the ID so that it will work with the filter thing. So now I can do this. Okay, so all these filtering thing is inside this div. Everything is fine, but what I need is I need to show the user who is active. If I click on active, if I click on inactive, it should show only inactive. We need to filter the inactive one. And if I say all, I need to say give me all the users. Right now we are showing all the users. So whenever there is a change event happen on the select, we need to do something. So is it going to work something like this? So for the event thing, we need to go on this and see we have on event name. So we just need to have something like this, on change, and then we can do something. So let's try this. Is it going to work? On change, and then here I can say alert and alerting something. You can see it's directly done, so I can give anonymous function. And now whenever I click or whenever I change the value of the select, I should get the alert. So active, and yeah, we are having the alert. This is good, but I can say that filter user or filter, simple filter. Then I say, hey, this is the filter function I need to create here. So let's say const filter is going to be a function which is going to alert once again the normal alert thing, so that I can see if this is working. Yes, it's working, but then I need the value for this select thing. So can I do this event? Let's have the E. So alert, we don't have this. Instead of alert, I can do the console log. So console.log event, and I can open the console like here. Is it opened? What happened? This is not an event. This is network. Yeah, this is the one. I can zoom it for you. Click on active. Now we have the event. So can I say event dot target dot value and change it? Okay, so now we have active. If I say this, inactive. So instead of active and inactive, can we do the true and false? So I can say true, and I can say false. Is it like that? So if I say active, we are getting true, false. And instead of all, I can say null. So if I do this, active is true, all is null. Okay, so we are getting this, and now with this we can filter the user. Okay, so we have all the users here. Then I can create another component, and that component, variable called filtered users, which is initially having all the users. Okay, is this going to work? Let's see. So instead of get user returning all the users, I'm returning the filtered users. Now this is nothing. We just have created a variable which is having all the data of the users. But then on the filter part, I can say filtered user is going to be users dot filter, and I get single user, and then I say user dot, and I can say active is equal to whatever the value we have. So const status is equal to e dot target dot value. So e dot target dot value. Now we can say status. So something like this, and this should do the work, but we can see we have some problem. It says cannot assign user because it is a constant. Yes, we have created a constant, so let's create a normal variable, and that's good. So let's say active, inactive. This is not working. So I can get rid of this get users and then filter by filtered user or loop by filtered user. So here I can say filtered users, and now I can try this, get the active one. Oh, no users found. Inactive, still no user found. What is happening here? So we said that this filter is going to be something like this. So I can just log whatever value we are getting here, and for now I can just not doing any filtering thing. So I just commented this code so that it will not remove the users. So clear the console, click on active. Now you can see we are not having any user. Why? Because users.active is has to be equal to the true. Now whenever I'm stuck at this situation, I just do again console log thing. So I need to say log of this and then return the comparison. So let's do active, and you can see it is saying false and false. So maybe I can give comma to get the user active and the status. What are the difference between them? Now you can see the difference. One is a string, another is a boolean thing. So here either we can change this thing or we can change something like that. If status is equal to true, then we call this constant as active. So if user is equal to active, then we get all the active users. So let's do one more console log active, and yeah, we are getting some users. So if I say inactive, we are once again getting all inactive users. So let's do that here. Instead of status, I just say active and remove the console log. Cool, and we are getting it. Close the console, and active, yeah, we are getting active user. Inactive, we are getting inactive user. Now what about all is still saying the inactive. Why? Because here if this is not true, then that means it's always going to be false. But we need to do one more thing, that if this target value is equal to null, then return users. That means return all the users. Otherwise do all these filtering thing. So one more time, active, good. Inactive, that's good. All, still we are having this issue with the all. We are having the null here. So one more time, another console log for the debugging thing. So debug, open the console, click on active, then click on all. Okay, null and null. That's good. So it should return all the users, but we are not getting that. Oh, why is this? So what if I do a console log here and see if this is going inside the loop, inside the if condition or not? It's going inside this if condition, but what happening here is, let's see what happening here. We need to actually do a very silly thing, which is not returning the user. I need to change this filtered user to all the users like this, and that's the only thing we need. Yeah, So it should return all the user, but it's not returning once again. And we need to kill this at this time. After that, we don't want the code to go at this level. Finally, after all these debug, we are back with the situation. So yes, I told you that how you can do all this filtering thing, and the best part here is we have used this filtered, and we have binded the event just like this. Okay, so this is really cool, and let's see how we can do some other things. Now our filter is working fine, but still, one more time, the responsibility of this users component is only to show the users, not to do the filtering thing. I think you get it right. I need to create a new component called filter user and give the svelte, and then I just cut this part, which is a filtering thing, and paste it here. Then we say filter user, and that's it. But then it says, hey, I need this filter function. So how I can do that? So remember, I can create a script. I can create an export let, and I say filter is a variable which I need. And by doing that, you can see if I do the active, it's not doing, although it's getting the filter, but filter is nothing, just a normal variable which is exported. Now what we need to pass the filter here. So I can say filter is a function. Okay, is this going to work? Let's see. Yeah, it's totally working. That's really great. So we are passing the function from upper side, the higher component or the parent component, to the child component. This is a normal thing. This is really good thing, but this is not the recommended way. What else we can do here? We can actually do some other thing, which is a event thing. So instead of passing the function from the parent to the child, we can emit a event from this component, which is handled by the other component. So whenever we do this kind of thing, we can create a filter function. So I can say const filter is going to be something like this, and then we need to dispatch a event. Now dispatch an event. How do I do that? Let's go here on the Svelte documentation and search for event. So on event, custom event should be there. Yeah, I always forget where is this custom event thing. So let's search for that. Maybe I can search for dispatch, and on event create dispatcher. Yeah, this is the one. So we need to first create the dispatcher like this. So how do we do that? We need to first import create event dispatcher, then do this dispatch, and then we can dispatch an event something like that. Okay, so let's do this, and we need to first create a dispatch. So const dispatch is equal to create event dispatch. Okay, we call it, and since we have installed the Svelte extension, it has auto imported it. Now inside that, we just need to say dispatch. What is the event name? Filter user, or I can just say filter, and then I pass the event. So I should get the event here, and instead of event, I can pass the real value. So e.target.value, because we know this is a select which will give me the event, and event.target.value. Now how do I use this event? Since this is a normal event, so how do we handle a HTML event? We do something like on click. Yeah, so instead of click, I'll say on filter, just handle this here on this filter function inside the users component. Now users component will not going to have this event, but it will have whatever value we pass from here. Okay, so right now if I just pass this string and I say value, so I just want to console log value and do nothing, so I just say return to show you that how this is working. Open the console and clear it and zoom it for you, change active, and you can see we are still getting the, that's not good. This is not good. So we should get the event. That's really bad. So here we can see we have the full detail. So I think I need to give something like this. Is this the thing? Okay, so maybe I can go to the component and see how do I do that. Okay, so I forgot that we are handling an event, so it is still going to be the event, something like that. So we are getting the event, but on the event what we have, event we have type and the filter, type and the detail. So this is the type and this is the detail. So I can say event dot detail. Okay, now if I do this, you can see we are getting exact thing. This means if I pass the real value, so we should get active, true, inactive, false. Yep, so we are getting it. And now instead of doing this event dot target dot value, oops, something like that, we can say event dot detail, and this should do the magic. Active, yeah, all. Now we can just destructure detail like this, and we can remove this event dot thing, and one more time, active, all. So this is the real way of telling to the parent that some event is happened, and we use this event dispatcher, which is really a cool thing here. Now we are happy with this because our users component doesn't know much. It just have only one responsibility, which is showing users related things. So it says, okay, I want to do the filter, I want to show the filter, I don't know, I don't care how this filter component works, I want to show the user, I don't care how a user works. So this is the way we can do all these things. Now let's do very amazing thing. I want to remove a user. So first I should have a close or cut button at the user, and then when I click on that button, I want to remove that user from this list. Let's see how we can do that. First I will open the user component, because here we have this user detail, and inside this I want to have let's say a span tag, which is going to have a little X sign. If I do that, that comes here and just like this. But I want to style it, and I say it's going to be the absolute, and then I say it's going to be the right, at the right. So like right 0. Yeah, so you can see it's on the right 0 and top 0. So that's not good. So I need to give this as this as a relative. So we should have like this, and then I say minus margin top of 4. So it's little up, maybe 3, and then I just make it rounded, full, and width of 4, and height of 4, and BG of let's say red 600, and text of white. By doing all these things, you can see something like this. Maybe I need to give text small, and then I say 5, and obviously the text center, text at the center, and yeah, looks good. But instead of 600, I say it's going to be the 300. But when I hover over it, the text, the BG, the background, will become red of 600 or maybe 700. So you can see I hover over it, and yes, this is good. Now instead of span, I should have a button, because button is the real thing. So I need to say, hey, this is a button, like here. And yeah, so now this button is a really good thing, but what if I click on this button? So I need to bind an event on click, and here I say remove. This is just a function I will create here. So let's create a function, and arrow function I like on the Svelte only. So this is just going to say removing, and it's just alert, and yeah, so button is working. But we know whenever we need to pass the information from a child component to the parent component, we use the dispatcher. So let's create a dispatcher. So dispatch create event dispatcher, which is already imported like here, and I just prefer to have dispatcher at the top. And then I say dispatch remove, and obviously we need to provide the index, or we can provide the user ID. So for this I just say user.id, and that's it. This is going to emit an event or dispatch an event. Now this is a user component. So let's go to the users component, and here we have this user component, and now here I say on remove. I need to once again create a remove function here, which is going to be something like this, const remove arrow, and this time I know that we get detail as the user ID. So I just console log detail. So open the console, clear it, and click, and now it says details. Oops, not details, just the detail. Close, cut. 1 is there, 2 is there, which is getting the user ID. Now I need to totally remove this, so I just once again use the filter, but this time this filter will be not on the filtered user, it will be on the users we have. So I just say users is equal to users dot filter, and I'm updating the full user data. It's like removing from the database. So suppose this user's detail is coming from the database and we are removing from there. So I get the user, and I say user.id is equal to, I say this as id, and I can't use id as detail. I can't do that. I was trying something. So now details, detail only. So if this is equal, that means if we found it, just remove when we don't have that ID. So I'm just filtering. I need only the user with the ID which is not emitted. Okay, so I'm removing all the users. I'm removing from all the users. So let's see, is it going to work? Click. It's not working. What happened? Let's do active. Let's do all. Oh, something is not good. See, actually what happening, if I filter, you can see we have the all user. That's good. Now if I remove Jenny, it looks like nothing has happened, but when I filter and when I get back to all the user, Jenny is really removed. So what happened here? See the thing. What happening is, first when we load the application, we push all the users into the filters user. Then here we have, now since these 3 users is not coming from the user, actually is coming from the filtered user. So even if I remove this Jenny is really removed from the users array. But how we are showing it? We are showing from the filtered. Now when we change the thing and when we get back to all the user, now when we get back to the user, we assign all the users we have inside the users array to the filters user, and at this time the users array has removed the Jenny. So something is not good. So what happening here basically is, whenever we change something on the users, this filter user automatically should update. This should be the thing we need. So seems like this should be a reactive one, reacting to the value of users array. How do we do that? So let's do something like this. I say $colon and create this filtered user. And now if I remove Jenny, you can see it's actually removed. Reload, try to filter active. Yeah, good. Inactive, that's good. All, that's also good. And if I remove Jenny, good. Active, no active user. Inactive, 2 user. Once again reload this application, remove John, good. Active, Jenny is active. Inactive, hacker is active. If we get the all, we just have 2 user, we have removed 1 user. This is the real thing, and this is the key for this thing. So we have created a reactive variable, and this is the syntax, $colon, and we are telling to the Svelte that, hey, whenever there's a change in the users array, just update the filtered user. It doesn't matter how you are doing it, you just need to update it. Okay, so we are having this filtered user using the reactive variable. We have a functionality to remove a user. So that means we need a way to add new user. Let's have a button here at the top which is saying that new user or add user. So how we can do that? So first we need to go on the users what is that? Users component, and then after this filter user, let's have a new user information or a component. So I say inside this new user dot svelte a new component, and here I'm going to create a button. Button says new user, and it should be there, but first we need to import this. And yeah, it's there, but you know, it should be in a single line. So I should say in a div, and then I say, hey, give a class of flex and justify between. So it will be left and the right, and then margin x of 4 on the left and the right. Okay, so I just need to remove the margin left from this filter component, and looks good. Okay, so this is good, but let's style this component. So style this button actually, and first is padding of padding x of 2. Let's have y of 2 also. Then background of purple 700. Is this going to work? It's not working. This is bad. So maybe blue 700. Yeah, it's okay. Then I should have 800, and then text obviously white, and then rounded large, which will provide a little border. Okay, so now at this time padding y is 1, and that's 4. Yeah, this is good. Padding y. So now I can make this inside a div, which is making it looks good. Okay, and one more thing is item center, items center, and this should be at the center, and little bit of margin top of 2, maybe 4. This is good. And instead of large, I just say rounded. Now what if I click on this button? First make it cursor pointer. Now when I click on this, I want to open a modal. So I already have created a modal. So what I can do, I can create a new component called modal.svelte, Inside that, I paste all the code which I have. Now I should show modal, not model, it's modal. Okay, now this is something, add something here. Okay, but this should only comes when I click on new user. So how do we do that thing? So here I need to say let show modal, or just say false initially, but when I click on this button it should say on click, and I can do this inline. I just say show modal is equal to true. Okay, that's I have given, but I should do this in an anonymous function. And now I only show this modal. How do we do that? Here is the if condition you need to learn. So I said hash if we have show modal, that means if this condition is true, and we can close the if by doing this. Okay, now see, click on the new user, we are having it. Now whenever I click on anywhere on the component or on the modal, it should close it. So how do we do that? So here I can open the modal component, we have it, and now this is the thing which is actually responsible for every other thing we can see in this modal. So we have the on click for this div, but we need to create a function called close, but we don't have any script. So let's create a script tag, and I say this close should come from outside. So I say let close. Now what if we click here? It should change the status or do whatever logic to hide or show this modal. Modal doesn't know what it has to do. It just expose, or it learn that hey, something is happening. But remember, this is an event. So instead of doing this, we need to create a dispatch. Create event dispatcher. That's okay. And then I say function close. This time I'm using a normal function. Let's see if I'm successful or not on this. Dispatch close, and that's it. I just want to close. I don't want to pass any information. So I say on close. What I have to do? I say anonymous function show modal will become false. That's it. Now see this new user, click anywhere, it's removed. So this is good, but it's also closing when I click on add something here. This should not be the case. So what I have to do, I only want to show this when we click on any other thing, or maybe I should create a button which should say close instead of clicking anywhere else. So create a button called close, and I just style it padding x of 2, padding y of 1, and bg of white, bg of white, and then border and rounded, and that's it. So we have this close button, but when I hover over it, bg become gray 200 and something like this. Yeah, so I should close this thing. So when I click on this on click, I should close this. So I need to say hey, just close me. Okay, so new user anywhere, it's working. So I should remove this div thing. New user close, new user anywhere, clicking, nothing is happening, close. Good. So this is the way we can do something here. Now let's see how we can push some information or some form inside this modal, because what really we want to have a form here inside this modal. How we can do that? And now I want to push the information or some content into this component. which is a modal component. So open the modal component and I want to add some HTML thing here. So here, how do I do that? For that, you need to learn about the slot. So if I do slot thing here, then anything if I put inside of this modal component, then we will that thing will be replaced by this slot. Okay, so how this is going to work? So instead of self-closing modal, I just have normal modal and I say hello world or create new user. Okay, so let's click on new user and boom, you can see we have this new user. Now instead of that, I can say just text of 2XL and then text center. That's good. And yep, and for now I just want to make this always show this modal so that it will be like this. And now what next? I need a form. Yeah, this is the real thing. So I need a form, and inside this form I don't need any action thing, but yes, I need a div which will include the input field. Inside this div I will have one is label, and label says name, and one input field with the type of text and self-closing it. Now you can see we have this input field. We will style it, or I will do that, but you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so this is good, but everything is nice. How do I create a button which will be like submitting the button? So I create a normal button which say create. Okay, and this button is something like this, and I can style this button padding x of 2, padding y of 1, bg blue, let's say this time 400, and text of white, rounded normally. Yeah, this is good. I think I like 800. Okay, but you can see this create button should be on the right side of the close, not here. But we cannot do, because everything will be replaced by this slot. So now comes the next important thing in the slot, which is called named slot. So we can create a named slot, and we can first create a div. Inside this div I should have this button like this, but this div should also have a flex and justify between. This means I can say one p tag, and let's just have this. So you can see we have on the left and then we have right, but we don't want to hard code something here. We just want another slot which should be available here. But if I do this, you can see we have two slots, and whatever we provide inside the modal, that will go inside the slot anywhere you provide. If I do 3 slot, you can see it's totally messed up. So we need to give a name to this slot, and this is like button, a right button, or whatever you want to give. So I say right button. Now you can see, since we are not using any right button slot, so we are having nothing on the right side. So just go here, and then we can create this button, and we say that, hey, there is a slot called right button, and this is not happy with this. So how do we make this? Why we are getting this error? See, we have a default slot which start from this form and this h1, but we are using the slot inside the slot. So inside the slot content. So if I remove this button, see what we have from here to here is a slot content, which is the default slot content. We cannot add another slot inside a slot content. So what we have to do, we have to say that, okay, this is all you need for a default slot, but after that, push this thing at the real named slot. So you can see now we have the create button on the right side, and this is exactly we need. But after doing this, we are still having a problem, because now this form is not having the real button. So we need this button inside of this form. So why don't we do one thing? Instead of form on that side, we can move it here, but this is an interesting case. So let's remove this form from here, and then we can create this as a form thing. So whatever we add, that will be added inside the form. In that case, when we do something like this, it's always going to have a form, and I can say type is submit. So this is actually going to submit the form. But where is the form? Form is inside the modal. Okay, so we have the name thing. So let's have some styling. So padding y of 2, padding x of 2, and this should be 1, and margin y of 2, and that's good. Maybe margin y 4. Yeah, and then we should give this input field as a class, which once again say padding 2, or maybe x of 2, y of 1, and rounded border. And yeah, so this looks good. Next, we should say this is with a class of width of 10, and that's good. Now we can repeat this to have one for the email. So let's have an email field, and this is going to be the email type, and right, that's good. And I think I can give this as a 1 by 12, or maybe 2 by 12. That 2 by 12 is good. Yeah, so here also let's have 2 by 12, and rest is width of 10 by 12. And now this is 10, 11, 12. This is good. So what happened here? So 1 by 12. Okay, let's have this in the we are not providing anything. We just say this is a full, so it's full, and same here. So it's going to be width of full, and the label doesn't need any class. Okay, so name, email, and then what? We should also have active or inactive. That should be active, and now this should be a checkbox. So type is checkbox, and yep, that checkbox is here. Instead of checkbox, why don't we have a radio button? So I can say radio, and value is active or true, and then we also have one more radio button which should have a value of false, and we need to give the name so that it will be called as the one thing. So either this or this. Okay, so these two things should be on inlined. So I can give a flex, yeah, something like that, and this also should give a flex thing, and then justify between, and oops, justify between like this, and then these two should have a margin x of 10 or maybe 5. Okay, so active, yes or no. So I think label will come like here for yes, and this will be true. For true, then id will be true. Another label will be like here, and this will be false, and no, so id will be false. But yep, and we are done with this. So if I click on yes, it should select and no, and yes and no, and one label yes we need, which is for active. Okay, so active, yes or no. Maybe I can give something like this. Okay, so this is good. Active, we have true or false, yes or no. We have the name, email, and for the image we are not making this complicated, so we will use any random image we will if we have. Okay, so this is the modal and this is the slot thing you have learned just now, which is making things better when we want to use a modal or a component with different kind of structure. So we can use the same modal to show the pop-ups, to show some notifications, something like that. And this time we have created a form. Now what if I click on create? You have seen that this is actually submitting. See this thing at this point. You will see if I click, yeah, it's actually submitting. So let's work on binding the values and handling the form in Svelte. The very first thing we have to do is go to the modal and handle this form. So we have an event of on submit. So I just need to say on submit. This is the event, and that's why I need to dispatch this event to the component wherever we are using this modal. So we have a close. We can create another function called on submit, which is going to dispatch. Once again, I say on submit, and that's it. But we want to prevent the things, so we want to prevent the submission of this form. So I say prevent default. So it's going to prevent the default behavior. So what if I now click here? You can see nothing is happening. So what happened when we submit this form? So we need to go on the new user component where we are using this modal. So just like we are using this close, we can also say on submit, or I can just say submit. That should not be the on submit will be like this. So go to the modal and just say dispatch submit. Okay, so I say on of the submit. This is the custom event I have created, which is just going to handle form. Okay, so let's create a function called handle form, and this will going to get the event, and for now I just log the event. Okay, let's open the console, click on create, and yeah, we have the details. So we have not passed anything, so detail is nothing, type is submit, and we are good to go. So this is the other thing, but what actually happened? We should have some binding in this fields, the input fields. So first we need a user, you can say let user, or I can say actually the new user, which is having empty string, empty object actually. So now I want to bind this with our input field, so that if I say on change, I want to bind new user dot name. This should be the case, but I need to do something like this. But we are we doing the right thing? So we can check by here. So we can say new user will be like this. So I say Sarthak, open the console, click on submit. No, we are not getting it. So what if I have the name field which is empty, and now it says to execute add event listener on this. So it says, hey, you are having some kind of, you have to have some kind of function. Now I say new user dot name, that should be the event. So I can actually create, maybe I can do something else. I can do on bind, or actually bind of value with the new user dot name. Okay, let's see this. If I say Sarthak, click on create, boom, we are getting the name. But what if I remove it? If I have initially empty Sarthak, click, and yeah, it's working. So this Svelte is so good. Otherwise, if you are on React or Vue, this will going to yell at you and say that, hey, you should have name field in that. Now we don't need this, and everything is good. So just like we have binded the user name, we need to also bind with the user email, and here we need to bind with user active. But this is not going to work. Why? Because it says attribute need to be unique. What happened? We are having these name field, and these are two input, but since this is a radio button, we need to bind the group, not the value. So with this, we will going to get the real value. So now if I say, hey, yes, this is active, Sarthak at bitfumes.com, and the name is also Sarthak. No, not what also, it should be just, and yeah, you can see we are getting active, email, and the name, everything we have here. So what happened when we really submit the function, or submit the form, actually not the function? So as usual, we need to dispatch some event, create a dispatcher. So const dispatch is equal to create event dispatcher, and something like this, move everything at the top, and then I say dispatch and new user, and new user as the data or the detail we are sending here. Okay, so this new user will know how to add a new user, but all the new user adding thing will happen on users component. So when we do this, I say add or on of new user, add new user. This is the function I have to create, or I can just say add, or maybe create, just add. So I say const add, and you can see sometimes I'm use the normal function, sometimes I use a different function. So I say detail and just log detail like this. So new Sarthak something something, click on active and click create. Oh, it's validation, HTML validation, and yeah, we are getting all the details. That's just the thing we need. What next? We just need the users array to be added with users dot what is that? Is like pop or push. Yeah, I have a push the detail. Every time I write wrong. Now number is not assigned, ID is not there. So what we have to do, we also have to add the ID. So what should be the ID? So first I destructure here, and then I say ID is going to be users dot length plus 1. So if we have a 3 user, then it will count to 3, and then we say the new one is the 4th one. Okay, so we need 3 dot to destructure it, and this will be something like this. Okay, then it says number is not assigned to the type, ID is number, image is string, name is string, active is boolean. Okay, so something is wrong here. We have active. Okay, so email. What if I do something else, like on the new user, on the radio button, I can provide the value as true. What if I do something like this and value as false here? So at gmail.com, click on create, and now cannot use in operator for search for iterator. Something is wrong here. Whatever we are doing is wrong. Oh, we don't have to do something like this. We are using the push. Cool. So just log the details also to see if we are doing right or not. Detail like this one more time, and so see, we are having this as a boolean. That's good. We are adding the ID. That's also good. And we can also add the image, which should be always going to be the user one. This is just my thing. We can add the user image also. Okay, so everything is fine. And now let's close this and reload this application. And obviously on the new user, I have to say initially it's false. So when I want to add new user, I click here and I say Sarthak at bitfumes.com. It's active user. Click on create, and it should be available here, but it's not. So we have some issue. Okay, one more thing is that when we submit this form, we need to close the modal. So how we can close the modal? We just say show modal is equal to false. That's it. Okay, come to the users and see why it is not adding. So we have all these things and user is not yet updated. So we can do something like users is equal to, and this is the new user detail. So I say, hey, add all the users, but on that add this user also. Okay, let's now see once again. Reload the application, something, click on yes, click on create, and yeah, you can see the new user is there, and obviously the modal is closed. Wow, very nice. But I want to add this user at the starting, so I can cut and paste it here, something like that. Give the comma. Cool. Finally, give me the Sarthak and click on create. Sarthak is added at the top. Whoa, so much amazing thing we have done, and it's all happened with the Svelte, and we saw that how to handle a form, how to bind the input values, and so much things. Great, let's move to the next thing in Svelte. Now let's do another thing. So see, we have this new user, we have this create button, but create button is active even though we don't have anything. So let's do something for this. So first I will go to the new user, and here we have this button, which is this one. Let's have the ID of submit button, and I want to get this submit button on the by using the document get element by ID. So I can say submit btn is equal to document dot get element by ID, and yeah. So let's log submit button. Now, do we really have it? You can see we are getting null, and if I even open it, we still get null. Why? Because when this component is loading, there is no button called submit button with the ID of submit button. There is one reason for this, which is at the time of loading of this new user component, or I can say at the time of at the time of loading of this new user component, which is rendering this button, that time it doesn't have the modal. If we don't have the modal, how we can have the button? So we need to make sure we will have the modal, but we will not show it. So instead of using the if else statement, I will remove the if, and then you can see it's active here, but I want to pass this show property, and I say show modal. Then I go to the modal component, I get export let show this function from the prop, and then I just have the style. And in Svelte.js we have a very nice styling thing. We just need to say style, then colon, and the style name, which is display, and then I'll say if show is true, that means if we are showing, then make it display block, otherwise display none. So initially the value of show is false, you can see, yeah, here. So we can change it by having new user, see, like this. So if I close it, that's working absolutely fine. It's similar to that, but we have some error. You can see we are getting undefined when we click on close. So actually when we click on close, the form is really submitting. So we can prevent that by saying that, hey, this button is not a submit button, the type is normal button. Just by adding this, it will not do that thing. So you can see now there is no submission of the form. Cool. But can we now have this? So see, if we check for this button is always going to be inside of our so it's always inside our DOM. It will never remove from the DOM. So we should get this element and get element by ID, and we should get this submit button. But still, if I go to the console, you can see we are getting null. Why? Because at the time of creating of this component, this is the component is creating. It has not created, not successfully done. At that time, we don't have anything here. So it's just processing the component, you can see. So what we have to do, we need to say that, hey, only get this button when the component is ready. Or in terms of Svelte, we call it on mounted. When the component is really mounted, everything is fine, its component, everything is on the DOM, then search for this button. So for that, I need to say on mount, and we import this on mount from Svelte like this. And this is going to get a callback function where we do all our things. So see, we are saying that when the component is ready, when it is mounted, then search for the button and then console log. So let's open the console, and yes, you can see now this time initially we are getting this null, but then after some time when the component is really mounted, we get this. So reload and we get this button right here. Cool. So this is the way we get the button, and we call this on mounted. But as I told you, we need to disable this when form is empty. So I need to say submit button dot how do I disable it? I just need to say disabled is equal to true. Can we do something like this? I think not, but I need to say add property. How do I add property? Although this is giving error, but it's working. So see, if I click here, nothing is happening because this is not filled. But we need to make sure we only disable it if the new users we have new users is empty. So I can say that if new user dot name is not there, or if new user dot email is not there, then disable it, otherwise enable it. So let's see, it's disabled, but when I type something, it is still enable. So what we have to do, we need to make sure we create another variable or property called disable submit button, but this one is going to be reactive, I think, and it's initially false, and we need to make sure this is going to be connected with this new user thing. So how we can do that? So we can say that it will become false. False means if these properties are true. So I can say that disabled if new user. So new user has to be here. Okay, so if new user dot name is not there, or if new user dot email is not there, then disable this button. But it has to be reactive, so I can do something like that. Now we have this disabled button, so let's move this on mount like here, and then I just need to say that, hey, this submit button dot disabled is equal to this disabled is equal to disabled submit button. So whatever the value of this will going to be connected here. So let's do that. It is disabled, email is there, but it has not yet enabled. Okay, so there is some issue with that. So what we have to do next, so instead of doing this on mount thing, we can directly connect this with the button. So I can say disabled is equal to like this, but I need to say, hey, bind the disabled thing, and is not a valid binding. So it's not binding. Let's do this directly. So new user disabled, and yeah, it's now enabled. You can see we are getting this hand, so at gmail.com, and yes, it's working. So yes, it is working, and this is the way I have explained you how to use the on mount. So after this on mount, I have another hooks for you, which is on destroy. But first, to understand on destroy, we need to go to the new user, and let's get back the modal from the if statement. So I will create hash if show modal, and like this, and go inside this modal where I just remove this export of show and also remove this style. So we are back with the modal, but with the if else condition. Now what's going to happen is we are removing and adding the component. So we have the on mount and on destroy of this component. So let's go to the modal component, and here I say on mount, and then I will just say console.log mounting. Okay, now open this console, clear it, and click on new user, and you can see we have this mounting. But similar to on mount, we also have on destroy. Okay, so once again, this is coming from the Svelte, and I say destroying, and you can see it's from here. Okay, so clear this console and click on new user. So mounting, close it, destroying, and this is the benefit of on destroy. But what is the use, when we should use it? Now suppose I create an interval const my interval is equal to set interval, and every second I just console.log let's say I'm saying that interval, simple thing. Okay, now what's going to happen, as soon as I create this component, you can see we are having an interval. Now what's going to happen, we have created this interval which is inside of this modal component. Now what if I close this component? You can see, although I have destroyed this modal, but still we are having this set interval running. So this means if I now start or create this component again, we have two intervals running, one for the current modal and other for the previous time when we have opened the modal. And this means every time we open it, we are having lot of set intervals which is eating up the memory. So what's the benefit of on destroy? We just need to clear this interval. So I say clear interval and give the name of the interval. That's it. So let's reload this page and then start. Yep, mounting interval is logging. That means our set interval is working here. But if I click on close, You can see the interval is now stopped. So this is the real benefit of this on destroy you can say component life cycle hook. So since we don't need these, I just going to remove this and also remove this code from here. Okay, so next thing I want to show you inside this Svelte is, if I go to the users, you can see all the user related information, all these function are inside this users modal, users component, not the model, users component. But there is a concept of store here. So let's understand how to create a store and how to put all these data inside the store and then fetch that back. Let's see. Now to have the store thing in our system, first let's go here. You can create a directory inside the store if you have multiple store, or you can just say store.js, and inside that you need to create a writable store. So first I say const and I need a count is equal to writable, and once again it is imported from store Svelte store, and I say 0. Now this is a variable, or you can say you have a state which is initialized with the value of 0. Okay, now we have created a very nice store. Yes, this is a store. How we can use it? Let's go to the users or maybe on the app. Here I can import count from the store we have. So I think it's directly store.js, and then I can show the count here. Okay, so we are not exporting, export const. Yeah, so it should show me the count value, but we are not getting it. We are getting some kind of object. So what's this? So let's just console log the count and see what we are getting. So we are getting an object which is having three things: subset, subscribe, and update. So set means setting up the new initial value. Subscribe means getting the value, and update, as the name suggests. So I will going to create let count value, and then I will say count dot subscribe, where I get the value, and then I say count value is equal to the value we are getting. Now let's have this count value, and now you can see it's 0 here. That's really cool. Now let's create a button, and I call it plus, and another is minus. So on click of this plus button, I want to increment. So I say increment, INCR. Then I say on click of this one, I say something like that. Decrement means decrease. So let's create a function which is having this, and now I just need to update the value of this this count store value. So now I say count dot update. So it says that we get the updater. Okay, or updater basically means we get the value, and what we need to do, we need to say value minus 1. Okay, and oh, it's increment, so I need to say plus 1, and on the decrement part I say minus 1, and I need to say DECR, decrement. Okay, so we have these two buttons. So let me zoom this for you. If I say plus, you can see it's working because we are directly updating the count, and we have a subscription. That means whenever there's a change in the count, just update or run this subscribe function, and we are just updating the count value. So this is the way we understand how this store is going to work, but we don't need these three things here. So let's get to the users component, and here we have all the users. So why not move this users data to our right table thing, and then I say it's a users. So we need to import these three, so I can just cut all this from here and import it like this. Yeah, now after doing this, if I save this by providing an empty array, you can see it says no user found because we don't have any user. Now I say import users from, and like this, from store. So I need to go up a directory and say from the store. Now we need to create a variable which should be the real user. So I can say import users as underscore users. Okay, and then I say underscore users dot subscribe to the value, and let's create this here, and then users is equal to the value for this subscription. But then it says, hey, okay, so inside this we actually need to say I think 2 times. Let's do this, and still, so we are on the store, we just need to go directly, so like this. Yeah, so once we did that, you can see we are back with this, and no error on the console. That means everything is working fine. So what if I try to remove the user? User is really removed. So reload the page and try to filter. Yeah, it's totally working. That's so great. We are doing everything on this users, which is having all the user we have inside the store. But doing this subscription is, I don't like this thing. So what I actually want, I don't want to alias this users we are getting. I can remove this, and wherever I'm using users, if I say $user, that will actually do all the things we need. So I say $user, and once again $users, like this. Yeah, so what is this $user is doing? And now you can see everything is fine, but the users $users is doing all the subscription work, and it's a shorthand for doing all the subscription thing. But if I do this, that means we are working directly on the store value. This means if I try to filter out, okay, the filter is good, great. But what if I remove any user? Oh, that's also working. What if I add any user? Sarthak at bitfumes.com, and it's active member, create. Yeah, it's working absolutely fine. Now we have these functions, and we can move these functions which is directly related to the user's store value, and for that we can just cut this and go to the store and just say export const of this function. But then we don't directly assign the value, we say users update, where we get all the users, and we say hey, all the users, just do this kind of filter. Okay, so we just need to import it. So I say remove, and yeah, you can see we are back. Similar to this add, we can just cut this and export const of this, and once again dot update with the underscore users, which is going to return an array, and I need to say underscore users. Underscore users mean the user of this update function or the callback. Okay, so first we need to import it, add, and yeah, everything is fine. Let's try removing, filtering, adding new user. Okay, spelling is bad. So .com, whatever it is, and create. So something is wrong. Okay, reload. So like this, click create. Yeah, it's created. So I just have to reload the page. Okay, everything is working, and we cannot move this filter because we are having this filter reactive variable, and reactive variable will not be available inside the store. Okay, so this is the simplest way to move things in the store and then using it inside the Svelte. Now, Svelte provide all the animation, transition, and very nice tween systems here. So to understand that, first I need a progress bar which will have number of users. So suppose I just can add 10 user only. So first I need to go to the users list, and here at top I can say one progress bar, and here I say max is 10, min is 0 obviously, and the value is going to be 2 for now. So you can see it is filled like here. So we have the tailwind css, so we can say bg blue 600. Is this working? No. So maybe text will going to work. Oh, it's totally not working. So it doesn't matter, I can just say width of full and move this below the filter part. So maybe below this, yeah. And we can give some margin here, so margin x of 4, and round it, which is not working here, so it doesn't matter. Anyways, so we are interested in the filling. So if I reload, you can see it's directly filled to value 2, or actually we have number of users, so I can say $filter users dot count dot length, like this, and then we need to use the curly braces like here. So it's not dollar, it's just filtered user dot length. Now it's filled. Okay, but what we want, as I told you, we want to have some transition to fill this. We can use the Svelte way of doing it. So I can say const progress, and this is going to be the filtered user dot length, and now save this and use progress here. So I can say $progress, and progress is not a store. So actually we need to remove it, and we need to make it reactive like this. And yeah, but instead of doing this thing, once again I can get back the const, and then I use one very important thing called tween, or actually it's tweened like this. And this should be imported once again from Svelte. So I can say import tweened from it's like Svelte slash animation. Okay, so it's actually from motion. Yeah, so tween is here. So what we have to do inside this tween, we need to define something, how it's going to be started. So if I go here, it says the initial value, and then the default with the option. So what should be the initial value? Initial value will be 0, and then it will take the duration of 500 millisecond, and then it should work. But if we use the tween, then we need to use it as a $progress, and you can see it's 0 initially, but we need to update it. So I say on mount, I say progress dot setting with filtered user dot length. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it's very nice. And now I can change it to 1000, and it's now filling very easily. you can define some kind of structure, like what will be the way of filling it, what will be the tween way. So for that we need to define easing, and let's say cube in. So first let's import it. So import cube, import from, first I say svelte easing, and then I can get the autocomplete ease in and out. So maybe cube ease in only. Okay, and define it here. So ease in, and now you can see initially it's slow, but then it become faster. You can also define ease in out if you want, and that's the default one, I think. So ease in is good for me. This is for the tween in the Svelte.js, which is really amazing thing here. So let's move to the next amazing animation kind of features in Svelte.js. And now let's talk about the remove of user. So if I remove the user, it's suddenly removed. So I want some kind of nice transition on this using Svelte.js. So what we have to do, we have this user, and let's add the transition here of fade. Okay, so how we can do that? We need to, I think we have to add it on our user. So this is the class, and then I say transition of fade, and import this from our Svelte. So from Svelte transition I need the fade. Okay, so we have it. Cannot dispatch. What happened? Oh, I removed the dispatch. Dispatch is create event dispatcher. Okay, so let's get back. Now click on here, and yeah, it's removed. And if I add new user, Sarthak at bitfumes films.com, and then click on create. Oops, I think I have some issue here, so I need to reload it at gmail.com. and yeah, it's easily fade in, and we have more of this. Like if I say, you can see draw fly params. Let's try this one. So have it transition of fly param. So if I try to remove it, I need to reload. Oops, it says hey, fly param cannot be used. So I think this is not that fly param thing. So I can say fade is this. What's other? We can go to the Svelte documentation and search for fade, and here we have the transition. So blur, fly. Okay, so we have a fly. We can just say the fly thing. Oops, like this. So we have the fly, and reload. Click on this. Boom, it's still that. Slide. Let's use the slide. Okay, so slide is there. Reload, click here. Yeah, this, I like this one. So you see, this is a slide. Okay, so we can play with these transitions, and you can also define in and out. So when you add something, you can define something else. You can even give the fade values, easing in, easing out. So if there is a fade, if you want more delay, so I can do that by saying, hey, I need the delay of 1000. So that should be something like this. Okay, that's good. And now try this once again. Oh, there is some mistake here. Okay, so there is a delay. I think I need the duration, actually 1000. Once again. Wow, so smooth. That's the thing. You can do anything you want with this kind of transition in Svelte.js. Let me show you one more thing. So if I use the fly, if I have this fly, yes, duration is this, but I want to move it on the x axis with the 200 position. Cannot find flew. So because that's a fly, not flew, and it should be imported. Yeah, now see this, if I click close, it's moved, and then here is that moved, and here is that. Okay, so if I remove the first one, it's it's very rapidly moving, so I need the transition on this also. So can we do transition here? I'm not sure if I do this. So transition cannot be applied to DOM element, not can only be applied to DOM element. So okay, we cannot do this, but can we do the transition here? So transition, not translate, transition of fade, and let's import fade from Svelte transition. And where's that? We have used it. Okay, something is wrong once again. I need to check. Transition, fly, Svelte transition. Seems okay. So transition, if I have right and correct, then it's working. Okay, so click. It's not working. I was thinking to add that kind of effect, but it's not having that effect. But maybe I can do one more try, and otherwise if it's not working, then we will move to the next big thing. Okay, so how do I import it? There is no auto import here, so once again I need to do fade from Svelte transition, and let's try one more time. It's not doing that, but anyways, we are good with this. So how do I cancel it? So I can remove this, no worries, but you get the point. How do we use these transitions? Cool. So we have this problem that if I click here, it's removed, but then the other element or other user will just collapse suddenly. So how do we fix this? We tried to use the transition, but transition is not working. So actually we need to use the animation of Svelte. So animation will only going to work inside the each loop if we have, and since animation can only be applied to the HTML, not for the component, then we need to wrap this inside a div. Okay, now here I say animate, and then provide the animation if you want. So maybe I can provide the flip and import the flip from Svelte animation, or animate actually. So here we are, we did this animate flip. Okay, let's try this, remove it, and very smoothly we are moving there. Is there any other animation? So I can go to the documentation, search for animate. Okay, so animate will provide, so I think I need to search somewhere else. So fly is the animation, blur is the animation, we have slide, we have scale, we have, that's a transition of a scale. So animate, fly, also this I need to search for flip. Here we have the animation. I was looking on the wrong side. So we just have the flip. That's bad, but we can configure this flip. So with this easing we can change the behavior. So here we are, and on the animate I can provide this, and then I need to quint out like here, and let's see what this is doing. Okay, so reload, click, and so there is some delay, but I don't need this delay, and I need the duration to be 800. Try it. Wow, it's very fast. So 1000. I think we need the delay. Delay is giving a nice behavior. So yeah. Yes, so this is the way we have the animation here, we have the animation here on the users, and I think I need water. Okay, so this is all about the animation and tweening and every other thing in Svelte.js. I want to close this course with the routing. Although we don't have the routing available in the Svelte documentation, but I found this page which is from Svelte, and this is providing us some of the nice routing behavior. So if I can get it, you can see we can move to the different pages. So basically what it does is it uses one library called we can go here. Oops, not there. This is called Svelte Navigator. So let's search for Svelte Navigator and we get the npm, and let's open it. Yeah, so we are here, and this one is obviously not directly from the Svelte, but maybe, I don't know, it can be available later. But for now, let's try this library. So I'm going to install this one and then see how it's going to be available. First we need the nav, okay, and that should be wrapped inside this router, and router will be imported from the Svelte Navigator. So go to the app, and here I can say, hey, I first need the router, and the router should be imported. So import from Svelte Navigator. Is this correct? Yeah, from Svelte Navigator I need to import router. Yeah, so that's good. We have imported the router. What next? It says then you need to define the path, that means the route. So inside that we define a route, not the router. I need to define route. So we need to import this route, or route maybe you can call it. So route, in this route we can define what is the path. So if it is empty, or slash, that means the base URL. So I need to create a page called home, or a component called home. Then I will also create another page which is called users, and this will, I call it users page. But for now we have the component. So let's comment this out and see, this is having the links, and this is having the details. So at this, above this, we need the links too. So let's create a nav bar, and here I create a link. Now we need to import this link also from the navigator. So link, and close this. Oops, it should be closed with the link. Okay, now inside that I first say home, which is having a two path of slash, and then slash users, and I call it users. Okay, let's see how this is looking. Okay, so at the top we have something like this. So let's like do some tailwind CSS magic. So padding 4, good. Background of blue 800. So like this, then comes text white and something like this. And then for every link, can we do the class? So I say margin x of 4. Yeah, we can do. Then we can provide it here also. That's good. But these two classes, these two should be linked. So cursor should be cursor pointer. Yeah, it's nice. But when I hover over them, then we need text to be maybe I just say underline or underlined. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so this is good. Now if I click on like users, so we can see we have this users also, but That's coming because of this. So we have this users component, and we can remove it. So when I go on, just go on localhost 3000, we can see nothing is there because we don't have anything for base path. So I will go here and I will create a library or create a page directory, and inside that I will create a home page. Basically it's a Svelte component, and I just say inside a div I say h1 welcome to Svelte course, and in the h4 I am Sarthak and you are watching Bitfumes, like this. Okay, so we need to have it, and we say when the path is base, then call the home. Okay, now I can call it home page because I want to distinguish between the component and the pages, so I call it home page, which is there. And then we are directly importing this user. So first let's design it. So I say flex height of a screen, and then I can give another div. Inside that I say margin of auto, so it's at the center, and then I can provide this as text for Excel and class margin top of 4 plus text of Excel. Okay, and text center too. Yeah, that's good. Nice, we have this, and now we are directly having the component. So instead of that I can create another page called user page dot svelte, and here inside this I can just say users component. So it's not going to change your life, but it's just making things correct or making things right. So it's, I think I have not imported this, and yes, now I have imported. So save this and import this user page. Something is bad. Okay, so I have imported it, so maybe I can restart the server. Okay, so lib svelte from user page, does file exist? So maybe I can do something like it's not correctly imported, so I can do like this. So go to the up a directory, then find a users component and show it. Is this working? I think it should work. Yeah, cool. You can see we have very nice animation coming like that, and everything is good. So if I add new user, Sarthak at bitfumes.com, active is yes, click on create, and new user is added. Very nice, and our scroll bar is also updated. If I remove, it should remove it, but it has not removed. That's the issue, but we can fix it later if we really want to create a production ready application. Anyways, so this is actually because of this mount. Can we do out of the mount thing? No, we need inside the mount. Okay, so that's great. And so this is all about the Svelte, and more of the things are there. We have tried some experimental thing, which is this routing, and if you want to go ahead of this Svelte, then you need to check out the Svelte kit, and the next course is really on the Svelte kit. Very soon you will see the Svelte kit video just like this amazing course of 2 hour and 1.5 hour of course on Bitfumes YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to Bitfumes YouTube channel and follow Bitfumes on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn. I need your support. Give it thumbs up, like, share and subscribe. Very important. So see you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.